Ever wondered which Canadian lakes turn ordinary snapshots into masterpieces? Where every sunset paints the sky in colors so vivid, they feel stolen from a dream? Canada, land of glassy waters, ancient forests, and towering peaksides, lakeshores so stunning, they redefine what it means to be photogenic. From Lake Louise, a turquoise gem cradled by the Rockies, to the legendary Moraine Lake, where alpine waters blend with twilight hues. What makes these destinations Canada's most Instagram-worthy escapes? And where are the secret vantage points that globe-trotting adventurers whisper about? Join us as we unveil the top 10 most photogenic lakeside destinations in Canada, where every frame isn't just a photo, but a moment that steals a piece of nature's soul. Don't skip number 3 on our list, a well-kept secret only the boldest explorers dare to chase, far from the crowds. Whether you're a wanderer, a shutterbug, or just craving a slice of serenity, smash that subscribe button to dive deeper into Canada's wild beauty. Because trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Moraine Lake. Deep in the heart of the Canadian Rockies lies a lake so vivid, so unreal, it looks like it was painted by nature itself. This is Moraine Lake, a glacial jewel nestled in the Valley of the Ten Peaks. Its waters shimmer with a turquoise glow, as if holding secrets carved by ice and time. Every drop in this lake is a story written over thousands of years. And every sunrise turns the lake into a mirror reflecting a world untouched. Moraine Lake was born at the end of the last ice age, nearly 14,000 years ago. As massive glaciers began to retreat, they left behind piles of rock and debris called moraines. One such moraine formed a natural dam, and meltwater began to collect behind it. Thus, Moraine Lake was created slowly, silently, over millennia. Its stunning turquoise color isn't artificial. It comes from glacial flour, fine rock particles ground down by ancient ice. These particles remain suspended in the water, scattering sunlight in a magical way. The result? A hue so striking, it looks otherworldly. But Moraine Lake isn't just beautiful. It's meaningful. In 1899, explorer Walter Wilcox wandered into this valley on a solo expedition. When he reached the top of a rock pile and looked down at the lake, he wrote, "It was the happiest half hour of my life." From that moment, the world began to know Moraine. Between 1969 and 1979, Moraine Lake was featured on the Canadian $20 bill. The view from the Rockpile Trail was known as the $20 view. Not for its price, but for its priceless beauty. Long before explorers arrived, this land was sacred to indigenous peoples. The Stoney Nakoda, Kunaksa, and Blackfoot nations lived and traveled through this valley. They saw the lake not just as water, but as spirit. Stories were passed down of giants, spirit owls, and healing rituals by the shore. Moraine Lake was a place of reverence. But this beauty comes with a cost: growing tourism and environmental stress. To protect the fragile ecosystem, personal vehicle access has been restricted. Visitors must take special shuttles and plan in advance. Peak season runs from June to early September. When the snow melts, the lake reaches its iconic blue. But even in off-seasons, the silence here speaks volumes. The winds echo through pine forests. The peaks stand tall like ancient guardians, and the lake remains calm, cold, timeless. Moraine Lake isn't just a destination. It's the first chapter of an ancient book written in ice, stone, and light. A whisper from the earth about what once was and what may be lost. You don't just see Moraine Lake. You feel it. Because sometimes, true beauty is what leaves us speechless. Muskoka Lakes. In the dawn of time, titanic glaciers carved their path southward. When they finally melted, They left behind a labyrinth of basins in the ancient Canadian Shield. Today, over 1,600 lakes big and small dot this granite canvas. Muskoka lakes are more than water. They are relics of an ice age, each basin a frozen fingerprint. Smooth, pink-gray, bedrock edges give way to pockets of deep, cold water. The interwoven channels and islands create a waterway tapestry unique in all of North America. Here, geology isn't academics, it's the very ground your cottage stands on. Long before steamships and summer retires, this land was home to the Ojibwe and Algonquin peoples. They read the rhythms of wind and water and knew every spring-fed inlet and shallow bay. In the 1800s, European settlers arrived, drawn first by timber majestic pines that fed an empire. Then came the railway, and with it, the flurry of grand hotels and steam launches. By 1906, the Muskoka Special Train ran daily from Toronto's Union Station, carrying tow-headed children and bow-tied elders. Artists and writers followed, capturing smoky sunsets and birch-lined shores in watercolor strokes. Generations built their cottages by hand, cedar logs, handy-cut shingles, and stone hearths. Muskoka's heartbeat is measured in canoe strokes at sunrise and crackling campfires at dusk. It's the hush when loons call across glassy water and the laughter echoing from a family dock. Every cottage holds a legacy. First light fishing rituals, handwritten recipe boxes, and heirloom furniture. Painters set up easels by the shore. Poets find solace in the mist as it drifts over cedar tops. In summer, paddleboarding lessons for grandchildren. In winter, snowshoe treks under aurora-lit skies. Islands host art studios. Lakeside markets celebrate local maple syrup and wild blueberry preserves. This is not escapism. It's a tradition of living with nature, not apart from it. So why do people return to Muskoka year after year? Maybe it's the way the water holds the sky like a mirror for what we've forgotten. Or the granite underfoot, grounding us in something older, wiser than ourselves. Maybe it's the quiet. The kind you only find where cell service fades and bird calls take over. Or the stories, passed down on worn dock chairs in wood smoke breezes. Muskoka isn't just about escape, it's about remembering. Remembering how to slow down, how to belong. How to let the land shape us, as it shaped the lakes. In a world spinning faster each day, Muskoka offers a compass not to where we're going, but to where we still are. It reminds us that beauty isn't always spectacular. Sometimes, it's quiet, honest, enduring. And sometimes, it waits for us, right where water meets stone. Niagara Falls, Long before cities, borders, and steel towers there was water. Rushing from the heart of the Great Lakes, a torrent found its voice. Here, between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, gravity wrote its most spectacular sentence. Niagara Falls is not one waterfall but three: Horseshoe, American, and Bridal Veil. Together, they spill over 3,160 tons of water every second, a liquid thunder heard before seen. It's not just power you feel, it's something older, deeper. This place was sacred to the indigenous peoples long before it became a postcard. The name Niagara may come from the Ongiera word meaning thunder of waters. Imagine 3,160 tons of water crashing every second, each droplet carrying immense kinetic energy. That energy sculpts the rock beneath, wearing down limestone and dolomite one grain at a time. Geologists call this plucking, and abrasionage. Water picks at fractures and grinds stone with suspended sediments. Over millennia, the crest of Horseshoe Falls has retreated nearly 11 kilometers upstream. Beneath the roar lies a hidden world of underground caverns, carved by turbulent currents. At night, flow sensors measure every fluctuation, while LiDAR mapping tracks minute shifts in the riverbed. Water chemistry is equally fascinating. Dissolved minerals feed vibrant algae blooms in calmer pools below. Scientists monitor pH, temperature, and turbidity because the falls are both a geological laboratory and a barometer of ecosystem health. For millions, the best classroom is right on the water's edge. Made of Thetham, mist boats thrust into the mist curtain, bringing you face with roaring power. Helmets on. You learn about hydraulic jump, where water transitions from high to low velocity, creating churning aeration. On the observation tower, interactive kiosks explain how hydroelectric turbines convert falling water into silent electricity. Kayaker sand in winter, icy climbers test their nerve on the turbulent rapids upstream. The Niagara Gorge Trail offers geology walks. Every exposed stratum tells a chapter of Earth's past. At the Butterfly Conservatory, crosses, and botanical gardens, you study life cycle sand. See how misty microclimates support rare plant species. School groups conduct water quality experiments on the rapids, recording data that feeds into cross-U border conservation efforts. From zip lining above Horseshoe to nighttime light shows, Niagara is a living science fair, and every visitor leaves with more questions than answers. The falls do not ask questions, they just are. Unapologetic. Relentless. Beautiful. Will you come for a selfie or for silence? For history or for awe? However you arrive, you will leave changed. Because Niagara is not just something to see, It's something that sees you and calls you to remember how small, how lucky, and how alive we are. Lake Louise, Alberta. Before the lake had a name, it had a purpose. Thousands of years ago, a glacier crept slowly through this valley grinding stone, shaping silence. When the ice finally withdrew, it left behind a basin of turquoise wonder. Lake Louise. Fed by meltwater, colored by powdered rock glacial flour suspended in its depths. That signature shade? It's not painted. It's refracted sunlight bouncing through ancient sediment. Here, the earth remembers its frozen past. And if you listen closely, so can you. Every day, scientists monitor Lake Louise as a barometer of climate change. The Victoria Glacier above is shrinking, its melt rate accelerating decade by decade. Water temperature, snowpack levels, sedimentation, everything tells a story. Beneath the beauty lies data, signals of a planet in flux. Yet paradoxically, the lake itself appears still, unmoving, timeless. But stillness isn't absence. It's balance. A finely tuned harmony between gravity, meltwater, and season. A lesson: what looks peaceful can be profoundly alive. Long before European explorers, the Stoney Nakoda people called this place Ho Run Namne, Lake of the Little Fishes. It was sacred, a place of gathering, of story, of spirit. In 1882, surveyors found the lake and renamed it after Princess Louise, daughter of Queen Victoria. The railway soon followed. Then came the luxury hotel. The wilderness became a destination. But not just for tourists, for artists, poets, alpinists. Painters like Tom Thomson sought to capture its mood, not just its view. And today, millions still arrive with phones instead of paintbrushes. But the impulse is the same: to preserve the impossible. In summer, you'll find paddlers gliding across turquoise silence. In winter, ice skaters trace loops under frozen peaks. Avalanche experts test snow layers for stability. Backcountry hikers walk the edge between awe and respect. This lake doesn't just sit in the Rockies, it defines them. It draws people not for what they can do, but for how it makes them feel. Some weep. Some grow still. Some begin to remember what they didn't know they'd forgotten. Because here, under the shadow of Mount Victoria, the wild teaches us how to be small and whole. What is it about water that holds us so deeply? Maybe it's because it reflects not just sky, but truth. In Lake Louise, we see something pure yet changing, eternal yet vulnerable. Nature's masterpiece and nature's warning. You don't need a reason to come here, but you might find one to stay. Not forever, but long enough to remember what matters. Because some places don't need to shout. They whisper, and their stillness moves you. Garibaldi Lake. Garibaldi Lake wasn't carved by ice alone. It was created by a rare collaboration of fire and frost. Over 9,000 years ago, a lava flow from Mount Price collided with a glacier. The molten rock cooled instantly, forming the barrier, a natural dam. Behind it, meltwater from glacial tongues pooled slowly patiently into what we now call Garibaldi Lake. This lake is not a peaceful accident, but a geologic compromise. A standoff frozen in emerald. While Garibaldi Lake appears serene, scientists call it a hazard zone. The barrier is unstable, a wall of ancient lava now subject to cracks, erosion, and water pressure. Geologists monitor it constantly. A breach could release a catastrophic flood down to Squamish. Seismographs line the valley, waiting for tremors. Hydrologists study the lake's depth, temperature layers, and seasonal melt patterns. Yet, paradoxically, it's also a pristine research site, isolated, undisturbed, almost laboratory-like. Glacial flour gives it its vivid blue. But underneath, the lake speaks in numbers, patterns, and shifting thresholds. To reach Garibaldi Lake, you hike. Nine kilometers of steady incline through thick forest and switchbacks. The trail is not easy, but the reward is transcendent. Suddenly, the trees part and you see it. A glacial lake at 1,500 meters, encircled by peaks, Mount Garibaldi, Table Mountain, and Guard Mountain. For locals, this hike is a rite of passage. For artists, it's a palette of impossible color. For the curious, it's a classroom without walls. Alpine meadows bloom near the lake's edge, teeny bursts of life in a place shaped by elemental forces. Every year, more people discover Garibaldi. And with them come tents, footsteps, waste, and questions. Can a place remain wild if it is loved too much? Rangers impose strict rules. Pack out what you bring in. No fires. No shortcuts. But the greatest protector of this lake is reverence. Peyto Lake. Tucked deep within the icy arms of the Canadian Rockies lies a lake so vivid, it appears as though it were painted by the sky itself. This is Peyto Lake, named after Bill Peyto, an early explorer, trapper, and park warden, whose footsteps once echoed along these very ridgelines. From above, the lake takes on the unmistakable shape of a wolf's head, piercing through the wilderness, a feature not lost on the First Nations, who once called this region home. What makes Peyto Lake unforgettable is not just its shape, but its surreal turquoise hue, so brilliant it seems unreal, especially under the high summer sun. This iconic color comes from glacial rock fluorotropine silt, carried down from the Wapta icefield that remains suspended in the lake's cold water, scattering sunlight in a symphony of milky blues and electric greens. Fed by ancient ice and nestled at 1,860 meters above sea level, Peyto Lake is more than just beautiful. It is a symbol of time, pressure, and the delicate balance between permanence and change. Tourists from all corners of the world hike the short trail to Bow Summit, where the best views of the lake unfold like a secret whispered by the mountains themselves. But Peyto is not merely a photo opportunity. It is a geological journal written over millennia by ice, wind, and the restless forces of the earth. It invites us not only to admire, but to listen, to wonder, to remember. Though the surface of Peyto Lake captures the imagination with its surreal color, the real wonder lies in the subtle ecosystem thriving both beneath its glacial waters and around its forested basin. The lake itself, fed almost entirely by glacial melt, is nutrient poor and extremely cold, averaging just 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, even in summer, which limits the diversity of aquatic species that can survive in its depths. However, certain hardy species have adapted to this environment, such as brook trout, Salvelinus fontinalis, introduced decades ago, and now occasionally spotted by researchers and licensed anglers. These trout rely on narrow windows of warmer temperatures during late summer to feed and breed in the connecting streams like Peyto Creek and Mistaya River. The shores around the lake support a more diverse community. Colombian ground squirrels dart between wildflowers in alpine meadows, while snowshoe hares, pine martens, and red foxes patrol the forest undergrowth. Overhead, Clark's nutcrackers and gray jays flit from branch to branch, while sharp-eyed visitors might spot the majestic golden eagle circling the thermals above the valley. Larger mammals roam more discreetly. Elk, bighorn sheep, and grizzly bears all inhabit the broader region, especially during summer when food is abundant in subalpine zones. In early morning, the stillness is broken only by birdsong and the rustle of wind through lodgepole pines, reminders that life here thrives in quiet resilience. While no towns or permanent communities sit directly on Peyto Lake's shore, owing to its protected status within Banff National Park, the surrounding region is steeped in indigenous and settler history. Long before it bore the name of early trail guide Bill Peyto, this valley was part of the traditional territory of the Stoney Nakoda, Tsuut'ina, and Ktunaxa peoples, who navigated these high passes during seasonal migrations and trade. Today, these indigenous communities are working to reassert stewardship and cultural interpretation within the park system, guiding conversations about land use and ecological respect. Nearby towns such as Lake Louise, Banff, and Field, BC, house many of the rangers, scientists, and seasonal workers who maintain the park's integrity and whose livelihoods depend on balancing tourism with conservation. During the short summer season, local guides lead hiking and photography tours to Peyto Lake's Lookout, helping visitors not only see but truly understand the lake's geological and cultural story. Locals often refer to Peyto not just as a view, but as a lesson about patience, about preservation, and about the interconnectedness of water, wildlife, and human spirit. In every drop of glacial melt that feeds this lake, there is memory of ancient snowfalls, of indigenous footsteps, of a rapidly warming world. In every creature that survives here, from the smallest ground squirrel to the silent moving grizzly, there is adaptation, balance, and fierce determination. Peyto Lake is not only a marvel of nature, it is a mirror reflecting our values, our impacts, and our choices for the future. Emerald Lake. Tucked within the heart of Yoho National Park lies a place where time slows down and nature whispers in emerald tones. Emerald Lake, a name that almost feels like an understatement for what your eyes will see. On misty mornings, its surface is a mirror to the sky, and on clear days, it glows with a brilliance that seems unreal. But this beauty isn't accidental, it's the result of ancient forces, invisible particles, and a delicate balance that science is only beginning to understand. To know Emerald Lake is to look beneath the surface, not just into the water, but into its story. The stunning green of Emerald Lake is not a trick of lighting, it's caused by glacial silt, also known as rock flour, suspended in the water. These particles come from the President Glacier, slowly grinding against rock, creating microscopic minerals that remain suspended year-round. Rich in feldspar, silicates, and carbonates. The silt reflects shorter wavelengths of light, primarily blue, and green, giving the lake its hypnotic hue. Scientists have studied the lake's optical properties. Discovering its reflectance spectrum is astonishingly close to that of actual emerald gemstones. The rocks surrounding the lake belong to the Otter Tail Limestone Formation, which dates back over 500 million years to the Cambrian period. Fossils found nearby, especially in the Burgess Shale, includes some of the oldest known soft-bodied organisms on Earth. This area isn't just beautiful, it's one of the most important paleontological sites in the world, giving us a window into life's earliest complex forms. Beneath every step on the lakeside trail lies the memory of oceans, tectonic shifts, and lifelong extinct. Though glacial-fed and low in nutrients, Emerald Lake supports a surprisingly rich alpine ecosystem. The lake itself is oligotrophic, meaning it has little algae or plant life, allowing it to remain crystal clear. In these cold, clean waters, species like cutthroat, trout thrive, especially during the spring and early summer spawning season. Along the marshy edges, amphibians like the Columbia spotted frog play a vital role in the ecosystem and serve as bioindicators of environmental health. The surrounding forests are home to a variety of mammals: moose, black bears, pine martens, and even the elusive Canada lynx. Birdwatchers often spot Swainson's thrush, three-toed woodpeckers, and gray jays, especially in early morning hours. Every creature here is adapted to the alpine rhythm: short summers, long winters, and fragile stability. Long before maps or modern trails, this land was part of the territory of the Kunaksa First Nation. To them, this wasn't just a place to hunt or gather, it was a spiritual landscape full of lessons and seasonal wisdom. In 1882, surveyor Tom Wilson became the first European to set eyes on Emerald Lake, led there while tracking lost horses. By the early 1900s, the Canadian Pacific Railway had recognized the area's potential as a tourist haven, building trails, cabins, and promotional material for wealthy visitors. The Emerald Lake Lodge, completed in 1925, still stands today, built from local timber and designed to harmonize with the surroundings. Scientists began to frequent the region in the 1950s and 60s, using the lake as a natural laboratory to study glacial dynamics, carbon cycling, and sediment transport. With every new visitor, Emerald Lake's story expanded from indigenous legend to explorer's marvel to scientific marvel. Over the last 40 years, the volume of glacial melt feeding Emerald Lake has dropped by more than 30%, according to Parks Canada. This decrease not only lowers water levels, but changes the sediment load and optical properties of the lake, subtly shifting its iconic color. Scientists now monitor Emerald Lake as part of larger climate studies, tracking seasonal changes, temperature shifts, and biodiversity over time. And yet, the lake still draws thousands each year, not just for its color, but for the silence it offers in a noisy world. Canoes glide across the water without motors. Skis leave quiet trails in winter snow. Families gather on its banks, not for entertainment, but for stillness. Emerald Lake reminds us that true beauty is both visible and invisible, product of time, pressure, and harmony between elements. And if we listen closely, we might still hear the ancient language written in stone, water, and wind. Lake Superior. Stretching over 82,000 square kilometers. Lake Superior is more than just a lake, it's the largest freshwater lake by surface area in the world. With a shoreline longer than the entire U.S. West Coast, it behaves more like an ocean than a lake. It's vast, powerful, mysterious, carving clouds, sculpting coasts, and shaping cultures. For centuries, it has been a lifeline, a barrier, a mirror to the sky, and a keeper of secrets. This is Lake Superior, the beating, breathing, unpredictable heart of the Great Lakes. Over 1.1 billion years ago, the mid-continent rift tried to tear North America apart, leaving behind the deep basin that would become Lake Superior. The lake sits on one of the world's oldest rock formations, the Canadian Shield, made up of ancient, volcanic, and metamorphic rocks. During the Ice Age, advancing glaciers carved this basin even deeper, carrying minerals and grinding stone into sand. When the glaciers retreated about 10,000 years ago, they filled the basin with meltwater, forming a lake so deep it could bury the Empire State Building. Today, its maximum depth of 406 meters, 1,333 feet, makes it the deepest of the Great Lakes and the coldest. Lake Superior contains 10% of the world's surface freshwater, a staggering statistic that underscores its global importance. Its waters are exceptionally cold and low in nutrients, supporting species adapted to extremes. Native fish like lake trout, whitefish, and Cisco-weta, fatty variant of lake trout, thrive in its icy depths. The lake's forests support black bears, moose, lynx, and bald eagles, while its shores serve as migration corridors for countless bird species. The rocky coastlines host some of North America's rarest plant species, shaped by cold winds and thin soil. And still, its biodiversity is threatened by invasive species like sea lampreys and climate change, pushing warmer water into deeper layers. For thousands of years, Anishinaabe tribes called this lake Gitchigami, meaning the Great Sea. They fished, paddled, and traded across it, their birch bark canoes cutting through the fog like arrows. In the 1600s, French explorers arrived, calling it Lac Supérieur, the uppermost of the Great Lakes. By the 19th century, the lake became a highway for fur traders, timber barons, and ore ships. It is estimated that over 350 shipwrecks lie on its bottom, many swallowed by sudden storms and icy water. The most famous, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, sank in 1975, with all 29 crew aboard, immortalized in song and maritime lore. Lake Superior is a climate moderator, shaping weather patterns over thousands of kilometers. In winter, it feeds lake-effect snowstorms that bury nearby cities like Marquette and Thunder Bay. Scientists study it closely to understand freshwater acidification, deep water oxygen cycles, and even methane seepage from the lakebed. Satellite imagery reveals how warming temperatures are causing the lake to heat faster than the global ocean average. In some years, surface temperatures have exceeded 20 degrees Celsius, disrupting native species that depend on cold water. Its long water retention time, 191 years on average, means changes here are slow but lasting, a bellwether for other global lakes. From indigenous oral traditions to modern poets, painters, and photographers, Lake Superior inspires awe and humility. Cities like Duluth, Thunder Bay, and Marquette have built their identity around its rhythms, storms, and silences. Artists call it a muse, sailors call it a challenge. The lake features in literature, music, and film as a symbol of endurance, mystery, and wild beauty. Every crashing wave and whispering fog bank reminds locals and visitors, this is not just a body of water, it's a presence. With climate change, pollution, and overuse threatening freshwater systems worldwide, Lake Superior stands as a guardian worth protecting. Efforts by the International Joint Commission, First Nations, scientists, and citizens are aiming to balance tourism, industry, and conservation. Community-led cleanups, algal bloom monitoring, and native species restoration are happening from shore to shore. As we stand on its rocky edges or paddle its vast surface, the lake invites us to pause not in fear, but in reverence. Because Lake Superior isn't just the largest lake on Earth, it's one of the last truly wild ones. And what we choose to do with it may define how we care for every drop of blue on this planet. Lake Huron. Nestled between Ontario, Canada, and the state of Michigan, Lake Huron is often overshadowed by its more famous neighbors. Yet it is the second largest of the Great Lakes by surface area. With over 6,100 kilometers of shoreline, Lake Huron quietly holds the title of having the longest shoreline of any Great Lake. It is home to more than 30,000 islands, including the world's largest freshwater island, Manitoulin Island, a sacred place rich with indigenous culture and ancient legend. Lake Huron was born from the grinding power of glaciers over 14,000 years ago, sculpting basins from ancient bedrock and leaving behind ridges, cliffs, and a mosaic of islands. Beneath its surface lies a submerged stone ridge, the Alpena Amberley Ridge, which once stood above water during the Ice Age, connecting regions now separated by lake. This land bridge provided a passage for migrating animals and early humans, a rare glimpse into a prehistoric ecosystem now buried under deep, cold water. In 2009, sonar scans revealed something incredible. Stone hunting structures over 9,000 years old, built by early humans to herd caribou across the ancient ridge. These submerged features are now considered some of the oldest preserved evidence of human activity in the Great Lakes region, making Lake Huron an underwater time capsule. Here, science meets myth, where rock alignments and tools speak of ingenuity, survival, and the resilience of those who came long before us. Lake Huron is home to over 120 species of fish, including lake trout, northern pike, and rainbow smelt, sustaining a thriving commercial and recreational fishing economy. It serves as a crucial waypoint for migratory birds, including loons, herons, and bald eagles, whose silhouettes haunt the skies at dusk. But the lake also faces ecological threats. Invasive species like zebra mussels and round goby have altered its food chains and water clarity, forcing conservationists into constant battle. The water here, once stained brown by tannins from forests, now appears startlingly clear, a deceptive beauty shaped by ecological imbalance. The waters of Huron are treacherous and storied, earning the grim nickname, the Graveyard of the Great Lakes. Over 1,000 ships have been claimed by its storms and shallow reefs, especially near Thunder Bay, a site now protected as a national marine sanctuary. Divers today can explore entire schooners resting intact on the lakebed's silent museums preserved by cold, freshwater, and time. Manitoulin Island is not just a geographic marvel, it is the heartland of the Anishinaabe people, who have lived here for centuries. They tell stories of the lake as a living spirit, Gi, Azha-Gamig, the great open water, a force of renewal and memory. Annual powwows, spiritual gatherings, and cedar ceremonies continue today, echoing through forests and across bays. Their wisdom informs current environmental stewardship, reminding us that science and spirit often flow from the same source. Lake Huron is a critical economic artery, connecting Lake Michigan, Kyme, Fore, and Lake Erie via canals, locks, and straits. Commercial ships carry millions of tons of goods across it each year, from grain to steel to salt, a lifeline carved into water. Yet it is also a place of retreat. Towns like Tobermory, Kincardine, and Bayfield offer a slower pace of life where kayaking, hiking, and stargazing bring visitors closer to the land. The Bruce Peninsula National Park, with its iconic cliffs and turquoise waters, attracts adventurers and families seeking natural wonder. As the climate shifts, Lake Huron responds with fluctuating water levels, altered weather patterns, and rising shoreline erosion. Scientists monitor everything from algae blooms to fish populations, hoping to understand and protect this complex ecosystem. Organizations on both sides of the border are working together to restore native species, combat pollution, and revive coastal wetlands. The lake's future depends not only on policy and research, but on whether we, as a species, can learn to respect water as our greatest teacher. Lake Huron is not loud, it does not roar like Niagara or glitter like Louise, but it whispers stories to those willing to listen. It tells of ice and fire, of human migration, of tragedy and resilience, and above all, it tells us that there is more to the world beneath the surface. In its stillness lies motion, in its silence lies memory, and in its depths, the future waits to be shaped. Lake Ontario. At first glance, Lake Ontario may appear to be the smallest of the 5 Great Lakes. But in truth, it plays a crucial role as the final link in a 3,800-kilometer chain of water that connects the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean. Stretching 311 kilometers in length and reaching depths of up to 244 meters. It is both a natural reservoir and a powerful artery of commerce, ecology, and culture. Its name comes from the Huron word Ontario, meaning Lake of Shining Waters. Lake Ontario, like its sibling lakes, was sculpted by the retreat of massive glaciers over 12,000 years ago during the last ice age. These glaciers carved deep basins into the earth, later filled with meltwater in ancient river channels. Beneath its surface lies one of the deepest lake basins in North America, originally part of an even larger post-glacial water body, Glacial Lake Iroquois. As the ice sheets receded, a new landscape emerged, one of rocky cliffs, rolling plains, and a massive freshwater lake at the center of it all. Lake Ontario supports over 130 species of fish, including lake sturgeon, Atlantic salmon, rainbow trout, and smallmouth bass. Surrounding wetlands host migratory birds like tundra swans, osprey, and the iconic common loon. The lake's temperature layers, called thermoclines, provide diverse aquatic habitats from cold water depths to warm surface waters. But this balance is delicate. Invasive species like zebra mussels and alewife fish have disrupted food chains, changing the lake's ecology over decades. The clearer water today is not always a sign of health. It's the effect of mussels filtering out plankton, affecting native species survival. For over 10,000 years, the lake has been a lifeline to the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, including the Seneca, Onondaga, and Cayuga peoples. These indigenous nations fished, traded, and traveled along the shores long before European settlers arrived. Ancient trails, ken, and settlements still echo beneath modern cities like Toronto, Kingston, and Rochester. To this day, indigenous knowledge informs ecological preservation and environmental justice efforts along the lake. Lake Ontario became a gateway to trade and migration with the construction of the Welland Canal in the 19th century, bypassing Niagara Falls. This engineering feat connected the lake to the rest of the Great Lakes system and ultimately to the Atlantic via the St. Lawrence River. Major cities sprung up along its shores: Toronto and Hamilton on the Canadian side, and Rochester and Oswego on the American side. Today, over 9 million people live in the Lake Ontario watershed, making it one of the most urbanized Great Lakes. This brings challenges: pollution from industry, sewage runoff, and urban sprawl threaten the lake's health. As global temperatures rise, Lake Ontario is warming, disrupting ice cover patterns and fish migration. Winter ice has decreased by 88% since the 1970s, affecting shipping and ecosystems alike. Scientists monitor water quality, algae blooms, and species health through networks like the Great Lakes Observing System. Local communities and indigenous leaders are working together to restore wetlands, reduce plastic pollution, and protect native fish. Citizen science, urban planning, and education all play vital roles in the lake's ongoing recovery. Despite centuries of use, Lake Ontario remains resilient. It mirrors our progress, our mistakes, and our ability to repair if we choose to listen and act. Its waters still reflect the stars, just as they did thousands of years ago. From kayakers in Toronto Harbor to stargazers on Wolf Island, people continue to be drawn to its calm, its depth, and its mystery. Lake Ontario is more than a body of water. It's a living, breathing ecosystem, archive, and teacher. And it reminds us that even the smallest of the Great Lakes can hold the greatest of stories.